Mislim, ja znam da će ovo biti ovako. Mislim, ja znam da će ovo biti ovako. Streaming.
A Liljana? Može i ona, jer to je za nju.
So, microphone for you, microphone for you. Now it's on. It should work. And this also works.
I have so many technical problems these days.
Thank you very much. Well, this is now an opportunity to meet colleagues from the southeastern region, and I was just asked to introduce them. And I will start with Matej Petranović from Croatia. He's the national coordinator for the European agenda and much more, but he will talk about this afterwards, from the Ministry of Education in Croatia. Denis Fazlić, he comes from Bosnia and Herzegovina and is the man in the Bosnian and Herzegovinian delegation. There are also Biljana and Dragana. Yes, over there, Biljana is the national coordinator for the EU agenda, and Denis is the coordinator for EPALE. Then we have the delegation from Montenegro, and I would like to, yes, Irena, Liljana, and I would like to ask Liljana to come here, okay? To join Ivan. So Montenegro is represented as well. Ivan Marković, yes, sorry. And Liljana Garić. And then we have the Slovenian delegation, Ema, you know Ema, and you know Katja by now. Katja is head of the unit for vocational education and adult education at the ministry, right? And then we have Hanne Christensen. She's from CEDEFOP, originally from Norway, and this is the roundtable that you are going to have right now.
Thank you. Yeah, so good morning everybody. I'm glad to see all of you looking so spry. My name is Hanne, as she said, and I'd like to welcome you to this roundtable discussion. Our main problem is time. As with all the other presenters, we have 45 minutes, we are all these people, they will all present their views, and we'll see how we're doing, and we'll also get room for questions from you. So, you have now met all the participants, you remember who they are, and we will get back to that. They are national coordinators for adult learning, we can say, more or less, from the region of the Balkans. So, I have put the topics, I don't really like this button, on the slide. And these are the things we're going to discuss today, the challenges, the possibilities of getting from the national level to actual implementation. In the first topic, we will look at the status of policy development, the challenges that goes into this balance between national governments and actual implementation. The second topic is about integrating these important objectives that we all know into these policies. And finally, we will look at networking and what can networking do for us when we try to get things to work in the real world. We'll go through, the way we'll do it technically is we'll go through the topics one by one, and all the panel participants will take turns to explain the situation in their country really briefly. It has to be brief, I'm sorry about that, but this is the way. So each topic, each country. And then, as I said, we have very little time, so I will ask you please to hold your questions till the end, after all the topics have been gone through. You get the chance to ask questions at the very end, because this is the only way we can control what kind of time we have. And of course there'll be a coffee break afterwards, so I hope you can go on exchanging views and asking also the participants during the break after this session, which ends at 10:45 sharp, I hope. Okay, we will start with Slovenia, and we have microphones, so we'll see how it works, and please tell us if it doesn't work at all, because we wanted to hear what people are saying. So the first topic, the status and the challenges of getting from the national policy governance level and to the practical implementation. What's happening and what's working or not working. We start with Slovenia. I don't know if Emma or Katja wants to talk.
I will start. Good morning. Thank you. First of all, I would like to stress that Slovenia is realized that the adult education is not a minor field of education system. As you know, and as you heard yesterday from director of Slovenian Institute of Adult Education and from our Minister for Adult Education, they are talked about our master plan. Slovenia prepared the National Adult Master Plan for the period 2005-2010, and then the second one for the period 2013 to 2020. Our National Adult Master Plan is a key document for Slovenia to implement its strategy and main goals of adult education adopted by the National Assembly. Mentioned key document has some main goals, and it presents systematic link between formal and non-formal education and school and non-school education. In short, the main goals in Slovenia from national plan are higher level of basic knowledge and skills for the adult population, which covers programs for basic skills, active citizenship, culture, democracy, foreign languages, environmental issues, also health, social cohesion, and so on, and better employment possibilities. Our national master plan are also includes activities which supported lifelong learning, such as improve the quality, developing system of recognition and validation of non-formal learning, then developing and performing counseling and providing information on educational opportunities and teacher training for adults. Our Slovenian Institute of Adult Education and different providers, mainly public centers of adult education, successfully put programs for basic skills in practice across all over Slovenia. So, in our opinion, adults have many ways and possibilities to improve their literacy, numeracy, digital and other skills for better employment and for better lives. Now, in front of us is a big problem and very important problem which touch immigrants, but about that we are talking later. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As I said, if you have questions and if you suddenly want to ask something, just hold it, write it down, and we'll get back to you. Okay, we'll just move on to Montenegro. There's a microphone there if one of you wants to pick it up. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Ivan. I come from Montenegro. I try to explain to you in a few minutes something about on topics. One, actually, we didn't have as in Slovenia the special documents for basic skills provision, but we have annual plan which adopted on start this year, and in this plan we adjustment objectives. We adjustment objectives for provision basic skills, and we have strategy for adult education from 2015 until 2025. Plan for adult education. Plan for adult education. We have the law, but we have the problem with law because it's necessary to change something things in the law if we want to increase the people with basic skills. And that's it for first topics for me.
Thank you very much. I think it's very interesting to hear people are focusing on the legal things here, and as we talked about yesterday, having the law is one thing, actually making things work is a different thing. So I think we'll just leave it there. We can't go into the discussion, but this is sort of a recurring theme. So we'll just keep it in mind, and we will move on to Dennis.
Thank you. For those of you that I haven't had a chance to talk with, to meet in the last 2 days, so I'm Dennis Pazlic from Bosnia and Herzegovina, and I'll try to give a feedback on the first topic at hand. Regarding the basic skills, actually, regarding the legal approach documents, we don't have content in Bosnia and Herzegovina regarding that. The education is not at the state level, but at the cantonal and entity levels. State institutions have more or less coordination roles, and in some roles in developing qualifications, vocational standards, educational, and so on. But the jurisdiction is at the cantonal and entity level. Not all cantons and entities have their own laws for adult education, and of course not for basic skills. But we do have a sort of a handbook, a guideline at the state level that deals with the approach in creating the adjusted programs, educational programs that are used in schools, they're used by the providers. And that is one of our biggest, actually, that's linked to another topic. That's one of our biggest challenges, actually, is that we are not harmonized enough, and the differences between the approaches and creating different 12 laws for adult education is certainly a disadvantage for us and a challenge. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Interesting that you bring up the regional aspect, which in many countries is a real challenge, how to make things more or less harmonized and more or less equal for everybody across the cantonal or regional differences. Our last country is Croatia. And Mate, would you like to add something?
Croatia also doesn't have formal content on basic skills, but since 2012, our ministry is national coordination body for implementation of EU agenda, and we have been providing projects. First of all, Grundtvig, and right now Erasmus Plus projects, through which we tried to improve basic skills program in Croatia. In those first Grundtvig project, we have created a manual as the first strategy documents for basic skills program, And right now in those Erasmus Plus project, we'll try to establish new adult education primary curricula in accordance with key competencies and basic skills programs in which we have been introduced to our study visits in Ireland, Norway, Austria, and so we'll see what will happen.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's interesting that you point out the opportunity of establishing arrangements within Erasmus programs and then hopefully working on that they will become permanent. And of course, funding is of essence here. We have the ESF funds, we have other kinds of funding, but still, it is a challenge, I understand.
We have first national strategy for science, technology and education, which was established in our parliament at 2013. So according to the strategy, we must create our new laws. So right now we have a committee who are working on a new adult education law. So those new adult education law will also take responsible. This committee will try to have some impact on basic skills program to those laws.
Thank you very much. We will move on to the second question, which is, one thing is policies and, let's say, official documents stating things about adult learning and basic skills. But we all know that there are many other goals hidden behind this. We want to integrate individual progress and inclusive society, active citizenship, employability, economic development of the country even. And how can this happen? Have you any thoughts on that? We'll just go through the line again the same way, starting with Slovenia up here, and then the rest of you can think in a while.
If I summarize the main challenges, I would like to say what would we do in our near future. First of all, or right now, is in changing process our umbrella act for organization and financing, which will define a public network for the adult education. Then Ministry of Education also intends to change our act of adult education. At this point, the main question is how can we stabilize funding of public adult education institutions which are established by local communities. For example, yesterday afternoon, a national coordination for adult education was discussing how to involve them more and how can we convince local communities in the process of adult learning more. Basis on Act of Slovenian qualification framework, we are going to develop and implementing new public training programs for development professional competencies, which will include also basic skills. Emma will continue.
Okay, thank you, Katja. As Katja said, and pointed out some legal changes that we are having in plan. We are actually very on real ground that the main concern is also making real and good partnership and capacity building on a national level, which means on a political level, among different sectors and different policies. And on the other hand, as also Katja already said, on a local level, and link them very well together. This is our main challenge, and we realize that maybe very truly through the process of having PIAC research on the spot, actually. So we started that process during that time in the country, and fortunately, it got also skill strategy process, which is very much linked to that, that we are building up the partnership among ministries, different stakeholders that they are helping in changing policies and in any kind of improvement of policies. So it means that on a national level we are a step over to that point, but the main challenge is going to be how to link it with the local level. We know and we are quite, we could say, on a real ground that this is a process which is going to take years. But it's a start, and we thought it's a very good start and it has a basis. So the next step to skill strategy is also action plan, which we hope that the European Commission is also going to support it as this skill strategy process and PIAC research. Thank you.
Thank you. I tell something about the offer for adult education in Montenegro in Web Center. Actually, we have offer for key competence provision, which relies in provider for adult education. And I tell something between the connected from national policy and municipality. Adjustment the allocated money for adult education in the local level. And what is interest? We have a program for key competence program for adult education for key competence provision, and that's it.
So in Bosnia and Herzegovina, we have certainly a lot of challenges, as we all do amongst us. One of them is definitely determining, and even more importantly, assigning jurisdictions' responsibilities to the right stakeholders in the whole system, not only of education, but in the society. Another one is hopefully to use the triangular approach that the colleague from Slovenia mentioned. It's definitely a good approach, and hopefully in the near future we will use it. Another is outdated programs, educational programs that needed to be addressed, updated long time ago. They do not follow the technological changes or the changes in the world and society. Another one is the quality cycle. We need to have a system for quality, not only to create something, but to create it sustainably, that it gets alive and keeps on living after we have finished working on it. And maybe one more that's even more important, and it's not funds. Actually, in my personal opinion, I don't think money is ever an issue. It's motivation. If we are motivated enough, I'm sure that there are funds all around us. There are projects, different chances that we can use to create what we want, but we need motivation. Thank you.
I think that's really inspirational, really good. Thank you very much. We're sort of moving on. We're talking about the challenges now, and I can see that we're already not going to get through all of our planned topics here, but we don't really mind so much. And there will be a little time for you to ask questions afterwards, as I said. So we'll just carry on and see what happens. Okay, thank you.
Right now in Croatia, we are developing new national curricula, national universal curricula for the whole system, and according to the directions from our strategy for science, education, and sports, and those national universal curricula, we must develop programs which will include all fragments of key competences, such acts as citizenships, foreign languages, entrepreneurship, and the others.
Thank you. I'm really glad you said citizenship, because then we can sort of elegantly go on to the next point and see if you have if you want to comment further on the inclusion of these kinds of other objectives other than learning better literacy, numeracy, digital competences. How about the other things, inclusive society, the active citizenship? You already mentioned this, but would some of the others like to comment on this point? No? Is that a no? Okay, we will go on. We will talk about networking. This is our third and last point here. Now that we are in the EBSN, now that we hear about the IPALA, the special interest groups that will start to, work more and more now this coming term, the working group of the EC, your networks. Can you say very briefly how you think that these networks can help you, and how can you get involved with each other, and how can you really use what you see here? And, do you like what you see here? Can you comment on these things? I know it's a leading question, but still. We'll just go down the road again, okay?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it was my personal intention to get ministry into this network, and we succeeded it. Yes. So I see this network as a professional exchange of knowledge practices, also research results, analysis. So I see it as a very, very beneficial network, not only as a venues like this, but also we are going to have, or we already have, different kinds of possibilities to exchange, like policy documents, recommendations, like online communication, webinars, and so on. So it's many possibilities to exchange different kinds of things related to basic skills among the nations and the cultures and states and policymakers and researchers and developers. So I see it as something which is crucial that we have in Europe and beyond. And it's for the ministry which I work for, and we do, try to do our best for adult learning on that side, is the crucial thing to get supportive documents from other countries that they could, we could say, be a very good ground how to convince our bosses, ministers, not only ours at this time, because this one is very convinced one, but the other ministries also, when we are talking about the problems of unemployed, vulnerable target groups, that they need all kinds of support, not only educational ones, but also others.
Thank you. Okay, I told something about the framework for key competence framework for all of country. I think so. Bosnia and Croatia, something Macedonia too. Something Slovenia has a framework for key competence, but we didn't have. And two programs for training of trainers for basic skills in Montenegro. I tell something about the regional conference which organized in Makarska last month, but my colleague Denis tell something about more. And Montenegro was a guest there, and it's definitely example of good practice for region. We will plan in next year something similar, and vocational exchange between the country, study visit, including expert for adult education from EBSN, and the European Commission. That's it.
Thank you.
So regarding the regional conference that we organized together, colleagues from Slovenia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and the host, Croatia, it was really not because we had anything to do with it. It was a 2-day event, a beautiful event. There were guests from more than, I think there were 11 countries. We shared it, we used it to share experience, but not only that, we used it to give feedback to each other, to plan and hopefully program the realization of activities, of common activities and goals for the next 2 years. And that's one of the major conclusions that we had at the conference. We already agreed future cooperation for this year, 2016, but also for 2017 and 18. Now back to the topic regarding the ePALE and the EBSN networks and different projects. We needed to raise awareness locally at the national and state level among all stakeholders at all levels, to use activities of the networks to try to bring together as much as possible to create a critical mass to make the changes that we need in our state. So the outer approach, I think, is a good approach for us. We need assistance, and hopefully we will use it. Thank you.
We need this network as a chance for exchanging good practice to blogs, to notes, to contacts, to conferences, such was that one in Croatia. Those conferences, international languages symposiums in Croatia, are already a tradition. So this is also one step further for adult education policies in our region. My unit already had few study visits, which was organized through contacts that we get through meetings like this one that EBSN organized there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think this really confirms what we want to hear. Professional exchange, research results, policy documents, other things, how to convince our bosses, what I hear. This is really nice. Training of trainers, good practice, study visits, future cooperation. And I think the whole thing sort of boils down to the importance of meeting. like we talked about initially, the importance of meeting each other, the importance of actually talking, putting a face to the name, actually meeting people. And I think this just goes to show that this is what it's all about. So I thank you very much. And before we open for the questions that I promised you, I would like to invite Gina Ebner to comment. She's the Secretary General. For those of you who just hear Gina, you don't know who she is. She's Gina Ebner. She's the Secretary General for the European Association for the Education of Adults, EAEA. So Gina, have you got one or two comments very briefly, and then we have still 5 minutes almost for questions.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to come in here and listening to you. I thought I would highlight 2 points that we in the EAEA feel quite strongly about, and you have partly touched on it anyway. But I think for an organization that represents civil society organizations and providers, these points are really important. One is civil dialogue, or as one of you have called it, engaging the people who are working in the sector. Because we believe that if you either want to develop a policy or you want to implement a policy, and preferably in both ways, if you take the actors in the sector along with you, if you talk of how it could work, it will be a better policy, it will be a better law, it will be a better implementation. So any government on whichever level, taking along the civil society, I think is one of the key developments. And the other point that is crucial for adult education, and we see the negative examples again and again, and we get the feedback from the members, is to avoid stop-and-go initiatives. We see that very often, and I know you're not, actually the people sitting here are not the ones who are responsible for it. You're probably sometimes the victims of it, and you have a government change and the whole policy changes. And you might build up an initiative, and with a new minister or a new approach, everything is stopped. People, expertise gets lost, money gets down, the learners are lost, and then maybe a few years later we start again. And I think if we had more sustainability across policies and implementation, we could have saved an enormous amount of money over the years in different countries across Europe, but we could have had a much better build-up of and results from the initiative. So if there's any chance, work with civil society, avoid the stop and go. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Gina. Very valid point, I think. But as you said, we don't really, I don't know if we have many super decision makers here. We should have told the minister. Okay, we have 2 minutes now, I think. So 1 or 2 questions, really good, really relevant questions. Any takers?
No questions.
Okay, thank you.
Save the planet.
Okay. I think it was Emma Permet from Slovenia who mentioned that one way we can, as network, we can help you is by providing you with examples of documentation, formal decisions in different countries. Is this the impression you also have, or can you think of other very concrete ways the EBSN can help you develop your policies? Not that the other countries have everything you need to help you. We need to create knowledge together. So we are actually very interested in knowing from you how you go about creating your policy, because sometimes when you do it from scratch, it's better. But I'd like to know more about the concrete details of how you would like us to work, for instance, in this EBSN special interest group that will be about policy creation and implementation.
Well, maybe it's not just including our countries in the network, but yeah, sure. But actually, and our institutions, but getting the right people, the people with, let's say, power to decide which way we're going to get them active in the network. I think that might be the right and one of the first steps that we would need to do. So getting the right responsible people to get motivated and active in the network.
I would add something which I think is very necessary to emphasize. It's very important to include in this network the practitioners, the researchers, that they are dealing with the real ground. And also, I would say, public servants on a higher level from different ministries, that they have their voice inside of the ministries, that they could advocate somehow for adult learning and basic skills.
Thank you. Yeah, we will allow another question, if you have another question. If not, there is coffee.
Oh, I see. That was not a good idea. Thank you very much. Thank you all for participating.
So there is a coffee break now. It's a 45-minute coffee break.